Thank you. Just somewhere around there. Perfect. Thank you. All right. Thank you. Gracias. We're all set up. All right. My name is David Quiroz. This is the Sandbox Social. Let's go ahead and get started. We are back. This is your show, the Sandbox Social, where we get to talk about things that shape the next generation. Thanks for coming back. If you haven't already checked out our last show, make sure to do that. We had two great in-studio guests. We talked about early intervention. Specifically, we talked about home visiting and the important service that is for many, many families. I learned so much. I learned about different techniques and different strategies that we can all use to engage with our youngest learners. I learned why it was so important to build community with other parents who had children the same age as we did. And we're not going too far from that today. Today's episode is one I am most excited about. You may not know this about me, but I'm bilingual. Hablo español. Hablo español con mi familia. All day, every day, I'm speaking Spanish with my loved ones, my children, my wife. And this show is about just that. Language development for anyone who wants to be bilingual and bicultural. I'm really excited about our guest today. It's someone that I know. It's someone that my wife introduced me to because of a relationship that she had at school with her. They worked together. And now we get to learn from her about different strategies that we can all implement when it comes to making our children and giving them the best gift, which is learning a different language. What does that look like when we're talking about 0 to 5? Let's take a listen to my interview with Nicole and find out. Hi, everyone. And here we are with Nicole. Thank you so much for being with us, Nicole. We're so excited to have you. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Nicole is a speech language pathologist, and I've known her for a little bit, family friend of ours, and so I'm just really happy that you were able to take a little bit of time from your day to connect with me. Let's start with getting to know you, Nicole. Can you tell us a little bit about you as a mom, as a professional?
Absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. So I am a bilingual speech language pathologist. I've been working in the field for over 10 years. I am Puerto Rican. My career actually started in Puerto Rico. I went to university there, undergrad, graduate school, and I began working there for a few years before moving to Illinois almost 9 years ago.
Wow. Okay. I just learned a couple of new things about you that I didn't know. That's awesome. So with your work of speech and language and development of young children, kind of what brought you to this line of work, Nicole?
So I think just my upbringing, Spanish was my first language. So I was born in the States, in Tennessee. My parents are Puerto Rican, so they really made it their goal to really just have the culture, like that Puerto Rican culture, the language, just have it alive, like keep it alive in our home. So just language and culture was always very important to me. When I started school, there were no bilingual programs, so I went to school in all English. So I just experienced that firsthand of just like that mesh in cultures. So I knew that language was something I wanted to work with. I love working with kids, so that was kind of an easy pick for me. I'm like, wait, language, working with kids. Okay, speech language pathologist. This is great.
Together. Yeah, yeah. And with that focus on bilingual children and bicultural children, and we'll talk a little bit about what that exactly means. Before we do, I want to go into this just question about the role and the job that you have. So when we're talking about, because you mentioned the upbringing, the typical bilingual development. So as you're developing language as a bilingual child, and what are some of those key differences that you see, right, that you deal with in your day to day with a language delay? I mean, let's just start off looking at it broad. You think about a language delay, but you also are working with children like you and me, right, who grew up hearing both languages at the same time and experiencing both cultures. What are you looking for when you work with a child that's 0 to 5?
Yes, that is a great question. So as a speech language pathologist, what we work on are those delays, those areas of difficulty. So in a bilingual child, I would say the most important thing to look at is that you're noticing difficulties or delays all across the board.
Mm,
So
gotcha.
if you're noticing difficulties with articulation, you're going to notice those across languages. So not just like,
Okay.
oh, they're
Mm,
okay in Spanish, but they're struggling in English, then that just might be part of their typical development because they've been exposed to Spanish first and then they're just learning the language. So truly just noticing difficulties all across the board, across languages.
I understand. And that makes absolute sense. So another big passion of mine is engaging parents, engaging caregivers in the conversation. So when you're talking to the parents of a child, right, that might have some concerns around language, what's most crucial, most critical for you to find out about the language that that child is hearing most, or the language that the child is using, or the language that the parents would like the child to use? I mean, how does those initial conversations go that you have with parents and caregivers?
Yeah, so one of the pretty much the first thing we do when we're looking
Mhm.
at a child are parent concerns. So
Mhm.
as part of those parent concerns and those initial conversations, we have to do a thorough history, like language history. So I
Okay.
ask questions, what was the first language that the child was exposed to? Kind of what's the timeline
Mhm.
of their
Okay.
languages? So were they exposed first to Spanish and now they're going to preschool, or maybe they're going to a daycare and daycare is in English. So kind of knowing that timeline, knowing where the family is from too, because dialect is really important to consider.
Mhm.
So it's not the same to say, oh, the family is from
Yes,
Puerto Rico
right.
versus
Yeah.
Mexico. So
Yeah,
we don't want
absolutely.
to identify a dialectal difference as part of the disorder. Um, yeah, so the timeline, dialect, parent concerns,
Yeah.
and kind of I ask a lot of questions of just like the dynamics around language in the home.
Mm.
Because sometimes it might be that dad speaks English, mom speaks
Right.
Spanish. So we kind of figure out kind of the percentage, okay, how much input is the child getting in each language? So there are a lot of pieces to it and there's a lot of nuance to it, but pretty much just having a really good interview
Yeah.
is like number one. Like that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, you brought up a couple of different things. One of the things that highlighted to me is a question I wanted to ask. As you're working with a child who is bilingual, um, is there, and you kind of mentioned it right when you were looking at areas of improvement or development in both of the language, and that it's not different. You know, you might see some similarities. Those skills that are learned in one language, are they easily transferable? I'm assuming that, going back to that response you gave me, the things that they're putting into place in one language will help build the other language. I mean, is that how it works?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Especially in that 0 to 3 age where kids are learning new vocabulary, when they're learning concepts. So let's just talk about like in and out, like in early intervention or,
Right.
something easy like in and out. So they learn the concept of like, okay, this is in. As long as they learn the concept, doesn't matter if they learned it in Spanish or English. If they're being exposed to one language first and then they go to school and they hear in and out instead of adentro afuera, all they have to do is
Right.
just add a new vocabulary word there, but they already know the concept. So they can just transfer it. So it makes things easier, if that makes sense.
Absolutely, 100%. So, Nicole, when you are starting to work with a child, with a family, how do you determine what language to do therapy in? Is it both? Is it you stick to one? What does that look like?
Yeah, so it is very individualized. So it'll depend on each child and family. But usually we will work on the strongest language and the language of the family. So especially for those littles, we want to work on them being able to communicate with their family because they're with their family all the time. Um, More so like when they're older kids, I work K through five in the schools.
Mhm.
So sometimes with older kids, even though they've had Spanish in the home, at this point their English has become stronger, their language of
Absolutely.
instruction is English. So there I'll kind of pivot to like what is the strongest language for the child, and they
Yeah.
also have a say of what language they want to work
So
on.
important.
So yeah, and it can be both. It can also be both. I have kids that are stronger in like their academic vocabulary, maybe in English, but kind of their social language is better in Spanish. So we can also like weave in both languages in therapy. That's okay too.
Mm. That makes sense. I love that you said, actually once they're older, talking to the child, right, and kind of having them be a part of that team decision making
Mm-hmm.
process. I think that's so important. Let me ask you this, and this is a question that I think a lot of us have is what advice or what are your thoughts for parents who are raising children who want to raise them bilingually, right? What are the some what are some of the concerns, I guess, that you hear most? I'll tell you, with me, it was your children are going to be confused, right? They're not gonna learn this language, they're not gonna learn this language. They're going to be bouncing around. It's going to be a big mess. What do you hear from parents you engage with as they're trying to make that decision about how do I want to raise my child?
Yeah, sadly, that is what I hear as well. And to me, it's incredible that, it's 2025 and still some professionals believe that. And research has shown again and again that growing up bilingual does not cause language delays. I mean, on the contrary, like there are lots of cognitive benefits of being bilingual.
Yeah.
So truly, everywhere I go, like I get on my soapbox and I'm like, please, it is a gift. I see it as a beautiful gift to a connection to your culture, to your family.
Yes.
Um, so, not letting that noise of people who truly don't understand bilingualism,
Mhm.
not letting those comments affect you,
Right.
and just diving in. Truly, it is a gift for your
Yeah.
children.
100%. I couldn't agree with you more, Nicole. And I'm so happy you're hearing and you're teaching us all these different things and exposing us to different ways of thinking because you're absolutely right. Um, I think a lot of times too, it's the different strategies, right, that every couple will use in different ways about exposing their children to different languages, right? My parents both spoke Spanish to us. My mother spoke a little bit more English. Her English was a little bit more fluent than my dad's. Myself with my wife and our children, we both speak Spanish to them the majority of the time, right? But there's other parents that I've engaged with who say, well, one parent stick to this language, the other parent just stick to this language. It's flexible. Is there an approach that you think yields the most benefit, one that you would recommend, or is it personalized depending on, again, that child's kind of upbringing, the other extended family that they might be engaging with outside of the home? What other
Mhm.
strategies do you see that work?
Yeah, so those are all great strategies. In my own home, so I forgot to mention I'm a
Hmm.
mom of two. I am raising my
Yes,
kids
of course.
bilingual. And so my husband does not speak Spanish. He's learning,
Hmm.
but he's not fluent yet.
Yeah.
So we do one parent, one language. So I
Yeah.
speak 100% Spanish with my kids, and they communicate with me in Spanish. And
Yeah.
so my husband speaks in English 100% of the time.
Hmm.
So for our family, that's what works because sadly my husband does
Yeah.
not speak the minority language.
Yeah.
But my parents, they both spoke Spanish, so they like it was minority language at home. So that's what's called
Hmm.
minority language at home. So everything was Spanish in the home, and then if we went out, then we would speak English. So there's no better better way of doing it or better strategy. It truly just depends on what works for the family dynamics and what
Yeah.
you can be consistent with.
Absolutely.
Um, So really, and just consistency is key. The amount of input that the child gets in that minority language is really important. So for me, I am the only Spanish input that my children get because my family doesn't live close by. So really, I need to focus on like I need to be super consistent because
Yeah.
if I don't speak Spanish, they're not going to get
Oh,
Spanish
no.
elsewhere.
Yes.
So truly just what works for the family is what's best.
Yes. Oh, well, you're speaking to me with the consistency piece. I was going to say consistency is key, right? With everything, with
Yeah.
anything, especially I think with language, in the home. And I think from my experience working with parents, that's maybe the hardest piece, right? Because it is something that you really have to do some work in, work
Yeah.
around. You have to make that decision. You have to kind of stick to it. So I absolutely love that you mentioned that. Here's a question. You mentioned your two children as a bilingual, bicultural person and your children growing up this way. What's kind of one, I'm curious if our kids have mentioned one quirky, kind of charming little language mix up that they use that you've personally heard from, like, from your children, your household, or from any child you work with?
Um, so for myself, I remember I used to call, so the moon, I would say Muna. So I like from
Mona.
Luna and then
That,
the M from
yes.
moon, I would say, oh, la Muna. And I'm like, wait. With my son, it was like a couple months ago. My husband was vacuuming like some rice, like after dinner, and he didn't know the word for like sucking, like it's sucking up the rice. So he
Okay.
said it's chooping the rice, like chupa, like it's chupando.
Yeah,
So it's chooping
chupa.
the rice. He's
Yeah,
chooping the rice, and it was like the cutest thing ever. My husband's like,
I
what?
love that.
And so I had to explain, like, no, he made a new verb. Like this is super cool.
Yeah, yeah. That's about, well, it's going back to what you were saying earlier, right? It's putting kind of both skills from both languages together and kind of making something that works for them at that moment. And it's a great learning
Mhm.
opportunity, right? And I actually love those stories. We have a couple of stories like that as well in my household, and we still get them even with my youngest, my 4-year-old. Now with my older one, you mentioned, right, the school culture and the friends and all these, and the language being that more dominant language that they're hearing outside of the home. It's a lot of hablen español, talk Spanish, speak Spanish, or
Mhm.
remember when you're engaging with your younger brother, right? Use
Mhm.
reminding them, especially because that 4-year-old is acquiring a lot more English at a much faster rate than his two older sisters.
Yes, and that like the research has shown across the board that the younger, like subsequent siblings speak
Yeah,
less and less of
yeah,
the minority language because yeah, the older kids go to school, they acquire more English,
right.
and then they kind of bring it. So I'm doing the same thing. So I
Yeah,
have a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old, and I told my 4-year-old, I told him Layla doesn't speak English yet.
right.
So she only speaks Spanish. She doesn't
Yeah,
understand if you speak English to her. So and
yeah,
he's like,
yeah,
oh, okay.
yeah, yeah.
So truly, like, again, the consistency in
The
being
consistency from
intentional.
everybody. Yeah.
Yes, like being very intentional about that language input. Yeah, you just got to.
The consistency, even with our older children. Yes,
Mm.
absolutely. Nicholas, we're coming to an end. I absolutely love everything you've highlighted for us, but I want to know kind of a little fun thing. What is one kind of song or cultural chant, rhyme, that you find yourself singing or using frequently that works with young children, maybe some of your clients that can be effective and continue to develop? I mean, when I think of a song or a chant, in college, I used to, tutor students, college students who were taking Spanish. And I'd always say, listen to music. Just go and listen to
Mhm,
music.
mhm.
Whatever music you like, find that in Spanish and listen to it and just kind of get your ears accustomed to the language. But in your work, is there a fun little jingle or something for a little young one that you recommend?
Um, I think the one I use the most in early intervention with kindergartners is the cleanup song in Spanish. Recogiendo y guardando, vamos ya, todo
I
en su
don't know if I've ever
sitio, todo
sung
en su
that.
lugar debe estar. No, oh my God, I sing it with all my kids, and it's
No.
like magic. Like even my 4-year-old, like I'll start kind of singing. He's like, "Okay, time to clean up."
I love it. It's a routine and you're exposing and learning language. I love that. I don't know that I'm familiar with you. We're gonna have to for our next episode, you have to record it. Maybe give us a little concert
I'll
with that
record
song.
it. Okay.
Yeah, I love that. The cleanup song in Spanish. What is, this will be our last question, but what is one thing, one just other piece of advice, and you've really summed up a lot of important points here, Nicole, that you would give new parents, older parents, anyone with a child saying, I really want to teach my child a different language or expose my child to my culture, right? Be not only bilingual but bicultural. What is just kind of one piece of advice? You've already mentioned consistency, right? That you would give them as they're kind of trying to make a lot of times, I feel, Nicole, a difficult decision. And they kind of go back and forth, right? I don't know. They're hearing all the noise, right? That you talked about earlier from people who are saying, well, it might be friends or family saying they're not going to be, how am I going to communicate with them, right, if we teach in Spanish? What would you tell them? What would you tell those parents?
I would tell them just do it. Just
Yeah.
if that I applaud them for even considering it.
Yeah.
And just to be intentional about it and just do it. Like it is a gift. Just be intentional. Because truly it is a beautiful gift. So
Yeah. I love that. Be intentional, be consistent, have fun with it,
yes.
right?
Yes.
Listen to, we're playing music all the time here, right, in our house, and we're dancing, and it's in Spanish, and I love that. My children, know artists that my mother and my father grew up with, and then how do they know these songs? But that's the environment that we're kind of setting up for them to be immersed in, and it's beautiful, and it's a gift, like you said. Nicole. Thank you so much for being here. Anything else you'd like to share before we disconnect?
Yeah. So parents can follow me at Topi Topi Bilingual Therapy. I post a lot of just tidbits and
I love
tips
that.
on Instagram and Facebook, so you can follow me and keep in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. I'll be following you because I don't already, but it's coming. I'm so excited to see your content and continue to learn myself again as someone who's raising children to be bilingual, to be bicultural. It's such an interesting and important language topic that there's almost never-ending research around it, especially as time goes on. So I think we just want to maintain ourselves as informed as we possibly can. Thank you so much, Nicole. Say hi to your little ones for us, and we hope to see you very soon.
I will. Thank you so much for having me.
I want to thank you, Nicole, for taking the time out of your busy schedule to talk to me. This is such an important topic, and I know all our viewers got a lot of information from it just as I did. As Nicole mentioned, she has 2 young bicultural and bilingual children of her own. It's so important to display our children's artwork around our home, our schools, and our community. I want to thank Nicole for providing me some artwork from her children. Thank you, Gavin. Thank you, Lila. I hope to continue receiving artwork from all children in the community. It's so important to see our little Picassos flourish, and I just love the things that we're receiving. This year is coming to a close. Schools will be out, children will be home, and there are a lot of activities happening in the community for families. There are a lot of ways to engage with your children outside, indoors, but it's about bringing people together. I love the holidays. I love this time of year. All the themes around family, connection, and really learning about one another. I want to highlight some of the things that are happening here locally in our community. First off, we have one of my favorite events, the Cocoa Crawl, coming up December 5th here in downtown Aurora. This is a great time to grab a hot drink, enjoy, walk around, get to know new people, but really just bring community together. There are also some events from our park district that I wanted to highlight, and they have a lot more. They have the Holiday Express, a great outdoor fun activity with trains for children. They also have story times that are tailored with different characters like the Grinch, Elsa, and all these other great characters that our children love. There's also a very important event coming up here in our city. The Kris Kringle Market, November 21st through December 24th. This is a great event, display, show, vendors, it's everything. It's a time to come learn about new cultures, learn about new customs, pick up great food, artwork, ornaments, you name it. I love going to it. I'll be there again this year. There's plenty of time for you to get out there with your family. It's almost up for an entire month. So make sure you schedule it, you plan ahead, and we'll see you at the market this year. Before we go, I want to highlight something else. And this is not exactly happening in our community, but very close to it. The Gale Borden Library in Elgin, Illinois, does a great job of highlighting different cultural events. And again, around this time, we're all coming together. We're all learning about each other's cultures, languages, customs, and they are highlighting some starting in December. I invite you to look at their website, visit the branch, all 3 of their branches to get more information. But December 6th, they'll be highlighting Las Posadas, which speaks and highlights the Latin American culture during this time. I'm excited to check it out myself, bring my family and friends, and meet everyone there to learn more and have a great bite. Well, that's it. That's another great show with a lot of new learning, not only for me as someone who is bilingual and bicultural. I loved it. I hope you did too. I hope you took away something new, something that made you curious about expanding your own learning or your child's. This is a great topic. This is a great show. This is your show. So please reach out with any other ideas, guests, and don't forget that artwork. We'll be back next month to close off 2025 with our last show. It's going to have to be super special. I'm really excited. So catch up with me in a couple of weeks. In the meantime, make sure you're keeping up and sharing the show with others. Take care.